everyone, welcome back. My name is Mel and this is Annibelle. We're back with another episode of relatively short animes that you could probably finish or binge within a weekend. I feel like this is a very good series for anyone who wants to get into anime but just doesn't have enough time. All the animes on this list are usually 15 episodes or less for the most part, or they are bite-sized episodes that will probably range from 5 to 11 minutes versus what you're normally used to, which is like on average 25 minutes or 22 if you skip the intro and the ending. We've got a nice range of different anime that can range from comedy to a little bit of love and action. So one of these on this list has to hit the sweet spot for you. The first one on the list is called Skullface Bookseller Handa-san. Essentially, this is a series of bite-sized episodes. Each episode's about 11 minutes, but without the ending or the intro, it could be even less. I discovered this recently while looking for some new anime to kind of refresh my list, take some breaks from shows like Attack on Titan. That is a lot to ingest and take in. It is a lovely comedy, and actually, the person who created this show wrote it on their own experiences as a bookseller. Not necessarily like as a bookseller, if that makes sense, but someone who works in a bookshop. So all the characters are really quirky. They all have different faces and shapes, so there aren't persons within the show that have like real faces unless they're like customer characters. And Handa-san is essentially a skeleton, hence the name Skullface Bookseller Handa-san. And it's mostly like a really exaggerated storytelling of people who come to visit the manga stores or the bookstores in Japan, specifically the one that Handa-san works at, and all of the wacky and interesting experiences that Handa-san has had while she worked at this bookstore. I say she, but it seems like she has personified herself as a male skeleton within the show. What makes this so great to watch is that you don't have to watch this in any particular order because there's no like strict storyline, and they're so short that you could probably watch one while you're brushing your teeth in the morning or doing your hair. It is so funny because the expressions of characters are so exaggerated. Additionally, they talk about little quirky things, I guess, about the manga community, like a huge group of fans or subgroup of fans that are really into boy love, BL mangas. So Handa-san essentially has this experience where there's a lot of foreigners and foreign women that come into the bookstore that they're working at, and they're all looking for the raunchiest BL novels or BL manga that they could get their hands on. And then it ranges also from different anecdotes of foreigners that like to visit Japan, and Hana-san has to struggle to communicate with them in English in order for them to find content material that they're looking for. And furthermore, there's also some nice funny storytelling of ultra big fans of certain mangas in which they may potentially call and harass the bookstore. This may sound really ordinary stuff to you, especially if you worked in retail before or even a bookstore. But it's the way that they exaggerate the experience is what makes it so funny. If you're really into like zombie-esque shows or shows like Attack on Titan or Tokyo Ghoul, then this next show is for you. This next show is called Kabaneri of the Iron Fortress. Essentially, it's about a community or society or country of people in which most of the population has been infected by a virus. This virus then turns you into basically kind of like a zombie, where the only way for you to survive is to eat human flesh or survive on their blood, essentially. Like, you can no longer survive on regular human sustenance. So it's definitely got some Tokyo Ghoul-ish vibes, and the cannibalism aspect to it is very Attack on Titan-ish, which, you know, if you've finished both and Attack on Titan's almost done, this is a nice way of you continuing your viewership of said type of genre. What makes this very interesting, though, is that one of the main characters ends up getting infected with the virus. being a very smart individual, he ends up figuring out a way as to how to stop the virus from reaching his brain so that he's able to keep like his human cognitive thought process, but has also gained superhuman-like abilities because the virus is in his system. So it only really has impacted part of his body, but not all of his body, to the point that he's able to keep consciousness. Now, when he was infected by the virus, the village that he lives in was also infected, destroyed. Basically, they're on the run now, trying to get to a haven that supposedly, they could probably live in peace away from this virus. So there's much of a struggle to get to this location. Also, for him to deal essentially with the virus that he has in his system, because obviously when this happens, he tries to hide it, but before long, people that he's traveling with, the people in his village, come to find out that he's been infected with this virus and they want to get rid of him. So it's kind of like a survival adventure to a safe haven. It's kind of cool, really fascinating. The storyline is a little bit interesting, and the animation it's kind of stellar. I don't know if stellar is an overestimation of it, but it's very cool. I thoroughly enjoyed the animation, and the storyline was fun and different enough, but also similar to other shows that I was kind of pulled in. And it's a really short series. Like I said before, it's less than 15 episodes. For those of you who have seen Bleach, or currently watching Bleach, or rewatching Bleach, or just reliving the manga, or like me, sitting around and just waiting for Bleach, this next one on the list is for you. Maybe if you're just starting Bleach, wait until you're done with Bleach. But there's a show that actually, and manga that was created by the same person who created Bleach. This show is called Burn the Witch. Now, as you can tell, it's not exactly the same story plot as Bleach, since Bleach has to do with soul reapers, people who reap souls and pass them on to a location that's called the Soul Society in order for them to live in the afterlife. But as you can tell by the title, this is more about witches and wizards. Within Burn the Witch, this is actually within the world of Bleach, except the Soul Society, they make it seem like the Soul Society is probably hosted in Japan, whereas Burn the Witch is hosted within England, more specifically London, but not London proper, reverse London. So within reverse London, there is a completely different society, and it's called the Western Society, aka Reverse London, where there is a group of wizards and witches that help maintain the order of dragons. In order to prevent dragons from exterminating, destroying whatever society, they have implemented this group of wizards and witches to help prevent that from happening. Each of these wizards and witches have weapons of their own, principally the main characters, Nini and Noelle, who we're following around through this mini-series kind of movie. I believe it was broken up into 3 parts by Crunchyroll, who I think is the only person / provider that allows you to stream this specific content. But I think it principally was a movie, though, the way that it kind of flows, to my understanding. Regardless, so Burn the Witch, they hunt dragons to prevent the destruction and extermination of society, and they do this by, 1, taming dragons of their own. So Nini and Noelle have mini dragons of their own, and higher rank wizards and witches seem to have way bigger dragons. I guess, as you rank up and you get better, then you could also, grow your dragon, essentially. The storyline is based around both Nini and Noelle, and they essentially have to look after this character who, what they define as a dragon clad. Essentially, what I've learned that to be is this individual, or anybody who's a dragon clad, can attract dragons, which isn't essentially good for their society. So they're looking to essentially exterminate him. But the division in which they're in, fun fact, all of the different divisions in this wizard soul-esque Western society is like branches of like the zodiac signs. So Nini and Noelle they're part of the Aries group, and then there's a group with the Scorpio symbol, then there's a group with like the Taurus symbol. So there's like the ways that they split up the different groups is by using different zodiac signs and symbols. But back to my main point, the head of the Aries division in which they're in instructs them to protect this kid who's a dragonclad. But for some reason, the higher-ups of the Soul Society have requested that this kid be exterminated. Not kid, really, it's a guy, but you get what I mean. They asked that he be exterminated, so essentially they are protecting this guy, short story plots, from being exterminated from other members within their society. It's really fun, it's nicely paced. The first episode or first part of the movie, aka the first 20-ish minutes, is a little bit slow, so I highly suggest when you pay attention because it's a little bit confusing, especially if you're looking for hints of like Bleach connection while you're watching it. However, the rest of the story is actually quite fast-paced, so episodes 2 and 3, or the rest of the movie, is really fast-paced, really interesting. The power scaling gets further explained, and also the world in which they live in, and the powers and dragons, and the powers of and abilities of dragons also gets further explained, to the point that you start to understand where the show could potentially go in the future if it is continued and extended. Last on the list is Rascal Does Not Dream of Bunny Senpai. It is a weirdly named anime. If you were to look at it, you probably would not watch it right away, but it's actually quite fascinating. It explores this made-up concept called like adolescence syndrome or puberty syndrome, and I would say that this show mostly encompasses a lot of metaphorical stuff that people in their adolescence goes through. Essentially, if I were to put it in simple terms, when you're younger and you're an adolescent, you kind of go through a lot of stuff like being antisocial or you can't fit in, cyberbullying if you were born in an era that had technology, or just bullying in general, just feeling invisible and not noticed by anybody, like all these different concepts, right? So they've kind of taken like these different concepts that people potentially experience in puberty, just like trying to find themselves or struggling to fit in and make friends, especially in high school, and they've personified it to the supernatural. So the main character, Mai, she essentially, you're introduced to her like dressed as like a bunny, and the other main character is able to see her. She's like wandering around in a library wearing a bunny suit, and for some reason nobody's reacting to it except for him. So essentially, like, it starts off with her, but you start to see of other people being affected by this thing that they call puberty syndrome. She is like a famous-esque person, but at some point, I guess, like there's an interaction in her life where she stops like doing modeling and acting and stuff like that. And for some reason, I think that she had a fear of like disappearing or being invisible to people, that she actually started becoming invisible to people. So this guy that essentially can see her tries to help other people remember her. It proves to be like a real struggle. It's really interesting. It's mostly like metaphorical and kind of like the hidden feelings and sensations, like supernaturally personified, that adolescents may feel while they are going through puberty. So I wouldn't say like when you watch the show it'll make a lot of sense right away, but if you kind of read between the lines, and if you're a teenager right now, you could probably draw some direct in the moment current events in your life to the show. Or if you're a little older now and you reminisce on your adolescence times and think about the times while you were in high school or while you were growing up, you could definitely find some hints and notes of what people are feeling and then being personified. This like main character also has a younger sister, and his younger sister hasn't been to school in like a year or something of that nature, because she used to be cyberbullied, and because of that, whenever she's exposed to technology or the internet, for some reason she wakes up with scratches and scars on her body, kind of as a metaphor of how much people's words are hurting her, but they're hurting her physically. So this show, like, I guess based on how I've described it, may not be interesting to certain groups of people, but if you really enjoy shows in general or anime that kind of has like read between the line kind of sentiment or an underlining message, then this show is definitely for you. And again, I think it's only like 12 episodes long, so you could probably binge it within a weekend. And that's gonna do it for me today. Thank you so much everyone for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video and something on this list piqued your interest that you may want to watch potentially this upcoming weekend. If you liked the video, please comment below, share with other people, like, subscribe. If you don't like it, then you don't like it. But I hope you enjoyed it. I hope this is some content that you would enjoy seeing more in the future. Just let me know. And until then, I will see you all soon. My name is Mel. This is Annie Mel, and thank you for everything. Bye.